Miniatures. If you're new to this, Meet the Miniaturist. Where you are Zooming from. And importantly, I'd love to know if you guys wouldn't mind while we're waiting for folks to join. Hey, Nancy, good to see you. I'd love to know what's bringing you, hey, Beth, to this Zoom specifically, because this is a special Meet the Miniaturist edition with featuring the Guild and the organization of IGMA. So I wanted to know what's drawing you guys to this specific topic, if you will. Hey, Levittown, PA, good to see you. And Tori, good to see you too. Connecticut, awesome. I'm joining live from Florida, so I'm at large today, coming to you. But yes, definitely use the chat box if you wouldn't mind, and let us know what's bringing you here. Nancy is a member of the Guild, awesome. We love to see members. Hey, San Francisco and Williamsburg, awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey, Fran. So Fran, thank you for keeping up with one of your favorite organizations. It is one of my favorite organizations too. Very excited for this very special Meet the Miniaturist. The Guild is near and dear to my heart for sure. Hey, Anita in Florida. Oh, good to know. Good to know you're interested in learning more about the Guild, because that's really what we want to do. We really want to get the word out about the Guild. And that's why we have some really great folks from the Guild here to talk to us today. Hey, Paula. Good, good, good. Learning about the Guild. Great. Classes. Yep. We're going to get to classes. Hey, Leslie, Connecticut. New member of the Guild. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Keep plugging away in that chat box, folks. If you're just joining, would love to know where you're joining from, but also what's drawing you to this specific Meet the Miniaturist today, which is featuring the Guild. So let me get to some housekeeping before we get to our Meet the Miniaturist, but keep plugging away in that chat box. Hey, Laura Moore, know that name. Just to let you know, I have posted the replay from last week's Meet the Miniaturist, which featured the executive director of the Denver Museum of Miniatures, Dolls, and Toys. Check that out. The museum editions of Meet the Miniatures tend to be the most popular, and I'm not surprised, because really we get an in-depth virtual tour. So go check that out. It's on my YouTube channel. Big thank you to Donald for helping out today, as he does every week. Say hello to Donald. He's going to be posting some of the links that I'll be mentioning in the chat box. And don't forget to use that chat box today. Comment section is open. Feedback is always appreciated. So use that chat box. We love to hear from you. We might not get to every question, but I share those with the group so that they hear what you guys are thinking and what you're wondering about. Again, if you missed any of my Meet the Miniaturists, go back to my YouTube channel. I post almost all of them if I don't have any issues with them. Sometimes they just disappear, but look there. And then don't forget, I have a couple of Meet the Miniaturists coming up. One is on Instagram. I'm doing an Instagram live, Meet the Miniaturist, with Linda Facci. She's a felt artist, and she makes the most beautiful, tiny little dogs and other animals. So she basically recreates your pets in miniature. Having her on Thursday night, which is the 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So look for that. If you're not familiar with Instagram, this is a good opportunity for you to go and get on Instagram, check it out, start an account, just so you could sort of be involved and get to see some of these things. I like to sort of spread the social media around. Sometimes I do Zoom, sometimes I do Instagram lives, so check that out. And then next Sunday, I will have Lauren Dodge on. I found her on Instagram, talking about Instagram, but I'll have her on a Zoom. She created an account called the Southern Gothic Dollhouse. Sunday, the May 30th, 4 p.m. I have opened up the registration for that, so we'll put that in the comment section. She's an incredible artist. She ties in all of her work. She's creating this beautiful Southern Gothic dollhouse. She ties in literature and all this, and she's inspired by diorama art. So she's really pushing the envelope on what dollhouse can be. So join me next week for that. Also, I'm doing a special patrons event on Friday night, the 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern. I will be sending out links to the patrons who have contributed to this series to join me at that event. I will be providing my observations and my own personal photographs and video from my visit to the Museum of Arts and Designs in New York City, which is currently exhibiting the Fisher Dollhouse, which is a beautiful Italian palazzo filled with unbelievable modern art, real art in miniature, crazy amounts of beautiful art. So I'm going to take folks through that and my whole trip when I went to the museum as a special thank you to my patrons. So I'm going to put some links in. I am not sending out any wine and cheese, but wouldn't that be great? So if you've ever, if you've never been to any of my Meet the Miniaturists, if you're new to this Meet the Miniaturist, this is what I do. I promote miniatures. That's what I do, but I also sell miniatures. I look for miniature estates to sell on behalf of folks who are looking to sell their collection. So I'm always looking for miniatures to sell. So if you're looking for someone to sell on your behalf, call me. And then finally, sign up on dthomas5miniatures.com if you want to never miss an update. And then we're also going to put in the chat box links to all of my social media channels in case you don't know where to find me. So with that, I will say thank you very much, first of all, before we even begin, to the Guild. And it's imga.org, and we're going to put that in the chat box, for joining me today for this very special Meet the Miniaturists. The Guild is very near and dear to my heart. They are the largest organization in the world dedicated to promoting fine art miniatures. And, that is near and dear to my heart because that's what I really believe in this organization and what they do. And I wanted to have them on and spread the word about what they do. So there are a number of folks from the Guild that are going to be on today in the next 45, 50 minutes that we're together from different parts of the organization that are here to tell you more about it. So chat box, like I said, will be open. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. But with that, we will bring up our first guest from the Guild, and that is Audrey Tripp. Audrey is the president of the Guild, and she is a member of the Guild. She's been a member of the Guild for a number of years, 10 plus years. She is also a student of the Guild. She's also a shopper who has turned collector. So with that, we'll bring her up, and there she is. Hey, Audrey, good to see you. Hey. So yeah, thank you, and thank you to the organization for joining today. It's really, really great to have you and spread the word about what you do. Why don't we start just there? I mean, you have this passion for miniatures. Take us through how that connection happened for you to get involved in the organization. And what that means to you.
I joined during one of the shows that I was at, the Guild show probably, a number of years ago, probably like 15 years ago. I had been shopping at Chicago and other shows since '99 and just kind of grew a little bit and a little bit. I never wanted a dollhouse. I just picked up little pieces that I put in printers trays around the house, and it kind of grew and grew, and eventually the first dollhouse appeared, and then I started taking classes with the Guild, took other classes at like the Philadelphia show, and have learned skills. It will never be anything that I'm making for anybody else. It's all personal enjoyment, but the Guild school, this will be my 10th year. It is a wonderful experience to go and just do miniatures for a week and be surrounded by people that the Williamsburg or other study programs that we have are, again, kind of an intense, shorter time period where you get to really learn a good skill and produce something that is so unique because you did it. You can shop all you want to, but being able to do one yourself is absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. So you just rattled off a whole lot of stuff, which just reflects, what this organization is about and how much this organization contributes to the miniatures world. There's so many different components, but overall, what would you say the mission is of the Guild? Just talk a little bit about the mission of the Guild.
The mission of the Guild is really very, very simple. It is to promote the fine art of miniatures and our main thrust of doing that is through education, by having classes and having people come and work with our artisans and fellows. The only people that teach for us at our guild school or at our study programs are artisan and fellows with the guild. At our show, we do classes, and that's a little more open. It can be regular people teaching also. It's just a matter of trying to give anybody that's coming to the show an opportunity to take a class and learn a skill.
Yeah, and I think the show is one of the largest components of the guild, and it's been sort of heritage for the guild, and really one of the organizations that have really started the whole show circuit, if you will. Would you say the guild show has been around since what, the 80s?
I think so, but you're going to have to ask Sally more on that one, because I've hit the guild show as it coordinated with where I was living, and could get to it easily. I have not been shopping it religiously, even as a member of the guild.
Yeah, but one of the key components would be this idea behind bringing artists and collectors from all over the world together to look at the miniature art, to buy, to share. And the shows are also very social, because this is such a niche sort of thing that you don't always get a chance to go out and meet people who are like-minded. So the guild show is a great place to sort of bring all that together in one place, so that people can see the work, can share the work, buy the work, of course. But yeah, so I would, for me, just the guild show is one of the treasures of the organization, and that, a wonderful piece of it. And we're going to get to all the other components as we bring other folks on from the guild to talk to us a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit about how people can get involved in the guild, because this is a nonprofit organization. It's run by volunteers just like you. And all nonprofits need not only financing, but we need volunteers to work. So can we talk a little bit about what are some of the things that people can do to help the guild, to get involved in the guild? What are the skill sets you're looking for, perhaps, in bringing people on?
Well, the guild show takes a lot of volunteers to run. She will have people taking money at the front door. You'll have people that will give a booth a break as far as I need to go to the bathroom, or I want to go get some food. So somebody else watches and makes sure that their materials are not taken, or people that are interested in buying are going to be around. There's live auction, there's silent auction. Both of those need somebody in charge of those. There are articles to be written for the cube. If you just have something that you want to share with other artisans and it's important and they need to know it, write an article for the cube. Do something real simple from your own home. Right. There's always work that can be volunteer at school. If you want to run errands for the office, or you have an hour to sit in the exhibit room to make sure that we can keep the doors open and people can come in and browse through at their leisure. That's a lot of time that we need somebody in there making sure that the exhibits are safe and answer questions about people that come in. It's not all miniaturists there. The people from the town and other parts of Maine wander in to see the work that we're doing and putting on exhibit. Right. So there's lots of different things that you can be involved in. It kind of just starts with being a member. Yeah. And, there's nothing special about being a member. You are being a member, you are showing that you're interested in miniatures and you are willing to support the education and the programming behind that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point that you're bringing up, because I think people do raise that question when they're like, why should I be a member? Well, why do we support fine art organizations anywhere? Why do we give money to a museum? Because we want to continue developing and raising awareness of the thing that we love so much. In this case, it's miniatures. So not only is it, yes, you do have member benefits by being a member of the guild, but it's also the not tangible stuff that you don't necessarily get in the mail that gives back to the organization. It helps continue the messaging, the awareness, and raising awareness of the art of the miniature. So I encourage you folks, if you're not a member right now, to go onto the IGMA site, igma.org, become a member, get involved. As Audrey said, there are a number of things you can do if you've got time to spare and want to become a volunteer. There's different places to do that. So that's awesome. All right, cool. All right, Audrey, we are going to bring you back at the end for Q&A. But in the meantime, we're going to move over to Pete Boorum. Now, Pete, and we'll say goodbye to Audrey for now, but let me tell you a little bit about Pete. Pete is also an artisan of the Guild, which is awesome. And I do want to give a little plug about, he did a recent Guild virtual. He's going to talk about the education program, but I want to tell you there is an awesome tutorial on YouTube that he and his lovely wife, Pam, put together that I was mesmerized and just spent the entire time just soaking it in. It's amazing information. I don't know if we have the link, but we'll find it and we'll get the links to you guys somehow. But it's an awesome tutorial. But I would like to welcome Pete, say thank you for being here. He is an artisan. He's been teaching for the Guild for many years. He and his wife are iconic in the miniature world. I've taken their classes before. It's awesome. But so Pete's going to talk about the educational programs with the Guild. And so talk a little bit about what are the different types of education programs and what can people, expect from them?
Well, there's a variety of education programs. The biggest one is the Guild School, and Barbara's going to talk about that in a little bit. I'm involved in the Guild School. I take care of the equipment, the tool pool up there. We have many pieces of equipment. We've got like 40 or 50 lathes that are stored in the basement at Maine Maritime Academy. There's nowhere else that this type of thing can be done. Other than the Guild School, we have little programs that are like the Guild School once or twice a year. They're called Guild Study Programs. The one in Colonial Williamsburg is over Martin Luther King weekend every year. It's been going on for probably about 30 years. It's basically an opening on Friday, dinner on Friday, usually a tour of some sort through whatever CW has going on. They've just rebuilt the museum, so next year they'll be giving us a tour of the museum. Then 18 hours of study with a teacher. Now there are normally 4 teachers at a study program, and maybe one doing furniture, one painter. And various other types of things. Sometimes it's tool furniture, sometimes it's something else. We'll do that, and that goes on. We're doing the one in Colonial Williamsburg. We're also doing one at the Kentucky Gateway Museum in Maysville, Kentucky, in October. That's just been open. That's now open for registration. We have 4 teachers that are teaching out there this year. It's going to be very interesting because it's being done at the end of this sort of odd period of time.
Yeah.
Other than the study programs, we have this Guild virtual education program, which is something that was sort of waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
Back about a year and a half when I took over the education job, it was sort of sitting there, and then it became a really good idea for us to be able to offer classes for people in their own homes. And we worked very hard with it. Tori West, who's I think listening to this program out in Arizona, took on the coordination of that. We basically hired 2 coaches who had worked heavily with another organization to work on doing classes through Zoom. We ended up offering 5 classes in April and May. Let me see. I believe we have. I'm looking for numbers here, but I think we had 71 participants, and we had something like 15 people who only did the video. You could do this as a live participant, or you could do it as a video afterwards. Lots of waiting lists. When you think about it, starting a new program out of the blue with almost 100 people was very successful, and we plan on doing it again.
Yeah, well, I do have to say, I am one of the students that jumped as soon as I heard that there was a virtual program, educational program. I loved every single minute of it. What I do want to say is this does not replace the in-person. This just supplements the in-person schools, because the schools that you go to have its own benefits, but I can't wait for the next one. So that's awesome. That's really awesome. So so the virtual learning, and then you also have the educational programs at various locations.
Yes, it's study programs, yeah.
Study programs. Okay, awesome, awesome. Does
And
anybody have any questions?
we also have programs which are done at the show,
Yeah,
which is not part of education, but it's also classes. It's a good way for people to learn things. One of the things that you do to promote fine art and miniatures is to expose people to what miniaturists do to create fine art.
right.
And we have discovered or built a large volume of artists through these organizations. People have gone to the organizations and they've seen that this is right down my alley, and they go forward, and then they become teachers, fellows, teachers, and some of them taught at Guild School and at study programs and so forth.
Right, right. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about this when we get to the Guild School, but can anybody take any of the classes? Are there skill sets and skill levels that you're looking for in all of those, either whether it's online or the study programs, the education, the Williamsburg program or the Maysville program?
There is a program for everyone that they can take. There are beginning programs, there are advanced programs, but in general, I don't think there's ever been a situation where someone has taken a program that they shouldn't have. I think it's very open, very inclusive. Teachers want students to learn, and they do that. It's something that you don't need to have any particular skill in order to do this. You have to have a desire to do it and a willingness to do it. And I think that will be the the thing that did it. I know the first class that I ever took at school with a gentleman named Bill Robertson down in it was down in Williamsburg, and I think it was in 2000.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I believe Sally Hoffman, who'll be speaking later, was teaching down there. I took that class and I said to myself, gee, this is really amazing. I can do a whole lot better than what I'm doing. And I've been doing miniatures for almost 20 years and been doing many, many shows and participated in a business. And I said, this is where I need to go next.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great little story. Absolutely. And I want to say that the teachers are all very, very, very patient. I can attest to that. I was in a Bill Robertson class when I shouldn't have been, but he was wonderful and patient and very kind. And I have to thank all of the other students in that, all the other students in that room, because it was good. All right. So Pete, thank you so much. We did have one quick question, which is when's the catalog for the Williamsburg program coming out? Is that out already?
No, it's not out. It'll be out by the Guild show.
Okay. All right. So hang in, Jolene. It's coming. It's coming. All right. Great. Thank you, Pete, so much. So we're going to now chat with Barbara Davis. Barbara Davis is also an artisan of the Guild. She's been around and working and just connected to the Guild for many years. She's a wonderful artist, but her claim to fame is director of the Guild School, the very, very famous worldwide Guild School. If you don't know about it, you're going to know about it now. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful school. It's beautifully run by Barbara, and we're gonna get to see a little bit about the school and how it works. But so, hi, Barbara. You want to set up this what we're going to see?
Sure. Hi, Don. And thank you so much, Darren, for doing all these programs. There's such a benefit to the miniatures as a whole. And I also, looking at the list of participants, I see lots of Guild Schoolers are here. So it's kind of like speaking to the choir. You all can talk a lot about Guild School too. We are going to see a video that was done a few years ago by many of you know John Almeida, the potter. His brother is a professional videographer, and he did a short video clip for us, and we will see that. But I want to set the context for what Guild School is. Basically, think going to college. You pay a tuition, a flat rate, and for that tuition, you get 36 hours of instruction. So that's 6 hours per day for 6 days. You get a shared room on the campus, so you get your rooming paid for, and you get all your meals, including breaks and receptions and all kinds of things. So that's your flat rate. You have options like getting a private room. You have additional options of taking an extra class, so you could work 8 hours a day for 6 days. And then you get to choose from typically around 25 to 30 instructors who are teaching upwards of 50 different projects. As everyone has said before, you can choose any project that you want from different skill levels, different mediums. There are plenty of things for beginners. Very often we have people say, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to go to guild school. There are levels for everyone to accomplish what they set out to accomplish. So we have evening seminars 2 nights a week. We have a lobster cookout. We have silent auctions, a live auction one night. We have an exhibit at the opening night where people bring in pieces that they've made or collected, and they exhibit them. Then we take that exhibit down, and on Friday night is graduation night, and all of the projects that students have been working on all week are on exhibit, and students get their diplomas. So I'd like to share the video with you all now. Then we can have questions later if you like. So, and Darren, do you have anything more to add, or?
No.
We're good? Okay.
Let's go for it.
All right.
We always say, if you really want to do more, you ought to consider coming to the Guild School. Because the Guild School is the place where you can be completely immersed in miniatures.
This is a week of saturated knowledge. Everything you ever wanted to know about miniatures.
To be in a community of people of like-mindedness, it can never just be talked about. You have to experience this.
Just intense all-day classes that are so much fun.
It's all these people coming from all over the world.
It's a wonderful way to connect with this form of art.
I'm sure it's got to be just top-notch throughout the world. I don't imagine you would find any better for miniature making.
You bring your cutting tool over to where the mark is.
You start here. Try to do the reverse of what you did on the other side.
I would do it like this. It looks like it would be 7 and 26/30 seconds to the top.
We have the best teachers here. They're understanding. They're very patient. They all excel in their field.
The instructors are real life people who have developed skills that they're willing to share with you, and they share freely and openly, and you actually feel like you know them.
It's such an amazing experience to be able to work with someone of such vast knowledge.
I'm just learning so much from her. She's a great teacher, integrates a sense of a philosophy of life with the whole process of how important it is to have experience.
Seeing it unfold, watching his artistic choices and hearing his decisions and what goes into that, you just learn so much.
Their line drawings and their written directions are just fantastic.
All of the artisans working in fine detail, they work to perfection.
I'm thrilled to be able to take this class and thrilled that we have teachers of this caliber here at the school.
Anybody coming new to the school, there's one thing I warn them: rest for at least 2 weeks before.
Most people just get so wrapped up in it, they're going to seminars and classes.
Very busy, 24/7 while I'm here, except when I'm asleep. The few hours I do sleep.
All been a challenge because we're working under a limited time.
Everyone is involved in real intense creativity.
This is serious and of a learning curve that's not meant to entertain, but to educate, to challenge, and that's great for us.
The class is making a 5-drawer shaker sewing table with a lip rim around the top.
And we're weaving a lap robe on a loom.
Decorating a bellows and decorating a box.
We're making a little tiny shop that sits in between two building facades.
Really challenging one to put together an artist box, which has about 8 drawers total.
They're starting everything from scratch.
Intricate finishing parts, the veneering and the parquetry.
I love the shaping of it. I like the feel of the clay.
How to make taper legs. We were trying to teach how to cut finger joints, how to do some finishing.
And with the convex and the concave movements and getting the right height of the tool rests.
What finger movements to take, off the speed of the wheel.
And then we have to wire brush it. And then we go back and we stain it again. Sometimes we overstain and then we have to go back and bleach.
This is real fire and real sound and real bubbling, and you can see the process going on.
We scribe, we break wood, and they, everybody's their eyebrows fly up. You're breaking wood? Yeah, we break wood.
We're using basically sanders.
Lathes, both metal and woodworking lathes.
Little jeweler's side.
Very high quality drill presses. There are kilns for both pottery and for enameling.
Table saws, we have overhead mills, shapers.
Flick shaft machine with polishing wheels.
X-Acto knives. And the acetylene torch that we're using is a little scary.
Anybody can come to Castine. You have a good time, you meet people that are interested in, it's wonderful to spend a week with people that you don't have to explain what a miniature is.
It's the challenge, it's the education. There's no school like it that can educate people in so many different disciplines.
You will learn things, you will meet other people who have the common sense of what it is to be a miniaturist.
You look around the room and hear, the person sitting next to you has won prizes for, some different skill, but they're in here learning with us.
It's the community of us teaching, because we all want to be able to stand on the last day and say, look what we did. Look what we did.
You have to come, you have to try it out. And frequently people who think they're coming for just 1 year come again year after year after year, because it's transformative.
It's a wonderful vacation if you really like to work at what you love to do.
It's simply the best week of the year.
Yes, it is. It really is the best week of the year. If you are into miniatures, this is the week. This is the place to be. I love that video just because it warms my heart. And you could feel it watching it, but there's no better way to really feel it unless you go. I've gone 3 times. I need to be going every single year. I missed a few years and it kills me. But Barbara, you were saying that there are still spots available there are open spots available this year for July, right?
Yes, there are. This year is very different. We have it every year in June for 39 years. And this year we moved it a little bit later to July. And so we do have openings this year. It'll be a smaller school. We're so sad. We're not sure what's going to happen with our international people. We have about 15 international students who are still hanging in there, hoping at some point our travel restrictions will change. And we are just keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that they'll be able to attend. But there are classes. It's all on the website. It tells what classes are full and what ones are open. So we'd love to have some more people too. There's plenty of time. So.
Does anybody have any questions for Barbara about the Guild School? If you've been to Guild School, just shout out. Let us know. And what have you taken? But in the meantime, if you still continue to ask questions if you want, but we're actually going to move on to talk with Pat Richards. Thank you, Barbara. We're going to talk to Pat Richards, who is a fellow of the Guild, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Artisan and Fellow credentialing process. And I think this is a really important part of what the organization does, because it actually lends credibility to all of the wonderful work that these artisans around the world are doing to create their miniatures. So thank you, Pat, for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind. You are an artist, you're an artisan, you're a fellow. How long have you been an artisan? How long have you been involved with the organization? And you have been a former chair of this committee as well. And then let's get into the credentialing process itself.
Okay. I went to my first guild show in 1997. At that point, I didn't really know what the guild was. I just knew there were some great artists there. And I joined a few years later when the guild show had moved up to Rye and I wanted to take a class. So that was when I joined the guild and started working my way towards maybe being a dealer one day. So I took classes, and textiles was the medium that I preferred. And I worked on my skills and worked on my skills. And I applied for Artisan probably about 5 years after I joined the guild. Was turned down. I didn't make it the first time.
Shocking.
But I took their criticisms to heart and worked on my skills and applied again a couple years later and made it. So I became an artisan member of the guild at that point. And I was happy with that for probably about 10 years until I decided I wanted to try for fellows. So I pushed skills a little more and looked at what pieces I could replicate in miniature.
Yeah.
And tried for fellow, and I was happy to succeed. So it was a real pleasure for me to achieve that goal.
Yeah, so you know, being on the committee, running the committee, chairing the committee, being involved in getting your own artisan status. I mean, you basically see all of it.
You do.
So, and that's really good from you know, when you're encouraging others to sort of apply.
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk about the process, a little bit about the process, and what are you looking for when you are encouraging folks to apply to be an artisan or a fellow?
We are looking for people that have worked on their skills and they are accurately replicating full-size pieces in miniature, that they are achieving scale and they are doing it to a fairly high standard. When you apply for artisan, we aren't expecting fellow work, we're expecting artisan work. We're expecting that you know what you're doing and that you are really looking at what you're doing and you are trying your best to replicate something that you've seen in miniature. The process is entirely blind. We have no idea whose work we're looking at when we look at it. And there are never any limits on how many artisans we might elevate in any particular meeting. If we have 15 people apply and 10 of them have wonderful work, then we'll have 10 new artisans.
Right.
If we only have 2, then we'll only have 2 new artisans.
Right.
But every time we do an evaluation, everyone writes down what they see and how they feel this person has met or not met the standards that we're looking for. And the standards that we're looking for are all posted online. If you go to igma.org, you can look under the member tab for the artisan and find out exactly what sort of guidelines we have in place for what we're looking for.
Yeah, well, great. Donald just plopped that in. It is in there, so folks can go and look that up. So talk a little bit about the different categories that artisans can apply for.
Anything you can imagine. There are textile categories, there's fine art, there's furniture, accessories, books, anything you can imagine. You can apply in whatever strikes your fancy. There will be a category that will fit that.
Okay. All right. Because my next question was going to be, you know, are you locked into specific categories, or can you just submit based on not specific categories? And I don't really know what I'm talking about, like a mixed medium, if you will. I don't know. Yeah.
You can. And if you're not completely sure, you can ask for us to make that decision for you. And sometimes we will add a slash to one category and say needlework / crochet, so that it is adjusted to what the work is.
Right. Okay. So, and what do you think are some of the benefits for someone to actually apply and become an Artisan Fellow?
Apart from the satisfaction of getting your work to that standard, there are several benefits with the Guild. All of the teachers in our study programs in our Guild school are artisans or fellows. So you have to be at least an artisan if you'd like to teach at any of those programs. You also have the option of putting your work in the gallery of the Guild, which goes to several shows around the country. So you can submit your work to the gallery and not have to attend that show, and your work will still be there for sale.
Beautiful, beautiful.
You get to put on your work. This was made by Pat Richards, IGMA fellow.
Right.
And there is also another program that's just for fellows, and that's an independent study program, which will award you a stipend of $2,000 to do something that furthers the medium that you work in, whether you want to travel, whether you want to take a special class, or do something else that improves your skills.
Yeah. What have you noticed, if anything, about the level of skills over the last, let's say, 20 years? How has the skill set changed, if anything? Have you seen any changes, improvements in what's being submitted?
You get quite a spectrum when you get applications. There are people that have obviously been to shows, been looking at good work, and they really have an idea of what they need to do. And you also get people who have not been able to access good work or haven't tried. I don't know what. But you do get a whole spectrum of people.
How has technology impacted the ability to, let's say, become an artisan or a fellow? How has that changed the way you look at miniatures and how they're being made and evaluated?
Technology has intruded, I should say. It's some people have used it to supplement their skills, and other people have used it in place of their skills.
Oh.
So it sometimes becomes a little difficult to decide whether the person has put enough work in this piece to merit artisan or fellow, or whether they're just a very good programmer. And I don't think we have a category for a computer programmer at the Guild.
Right.
So it has to be used to supplement your skills.
So it's not that it's discouraged, or it's disqualified.
No.
It's how it's being used. Awesome.
Somebody used it in an application for quilting where they had done a photography print to be able to use that in their quilt. And that was wonderful. They had done it very well.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's great. Elizabeth has a question about where we can see good work if we haven't been able to get to a Guild show.
There's good work online. We always post pictures of our last class of fellows and artisans. You can see that there. And if you see someone who's been recently awarded Artisan or Fellow, you can research their work online. There are some books that you can get that show you what good work is. Basically, you want to replicate as closely as possible what that piece would look like in 1/12 scale.
Yeah. I would imagine nothing replaces seeing an object in person, holding it.
That is a great bonus, yeah.
Around, looking at it from all angles, seeing how shadow applies, all of that. And yes, I think, online world has has allowed the miniatures world to explode, but nothing will replace going out and seeing miniatures in person.
Yeah. That's always the best, to see it in person.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Pat, for telling us all about the Artisan and Fellow process and programming, which I think, all of these elements are so important to the organization. But I think for me personally, I think the program, the Artisan and Fellow program, lends the credibility that the miniatures world needs to elevate it, to have people see it as the art form that it is. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for explaining that to us. And I will bring on our next guest, who is Sally Hoffman. And Sally is, and I'm so excited that she's here with us, is a founding charter member of the Guild. And I think that just blows me away because I think she has seen it all and continues to see it all. I'm going to ask her about that. I'm going to ask her about what she has seen in terms of the changes as we get to this point, to this era. But Sally, thank you so much for being here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you are a charter member of the Guild. Can you reflect back a little bit on that time? What was it like, and why do you think it was so important to create this organization?
I love what I have heard so far on this program. It reminds me very much of the days when we started the Guild. We all felt very excited. It was a time when if you were making miniatures, you were making them at home in your basement, and a lot of people still are. But if you went out to buy them, it was very difficult to find quality miniatures. Generally, they were imports and they were pretty heavy. On the clunky side, meant more as a toy. And those of us who really enjoyed making them the same way that full-scale furniture was done, were not happy with that. And so we all got together. We had started going to shows, and we went to the different shows, and we'd sit and talk among ourselves. And then we finally decided, let's do something about this. And W. Foster Tracy is actually the person who really got things cooking, so to speak. We met together. I think there were 12 of us in that initial group. And we all agreed to start this organization. And the purpose has been stated all the way through this show, why we actually did this. I've heard it from everybody who spoke, that there were people who loved miniatures. They needed people to talk to. And by the way, there weren't a lot of tools then that you used. Finding a tool was very, very difficult. And so you could exchange information among one another. Where did you find this? What did you use? And it just grew. The first thing we did, Tracy did, he got us connected to a miniature exhibit that was being held at the Philadelphia Civic Center in the winter of 1979.
Wow.
It had exquisite work in it. Donald Buttfield's work was included. Some of ours was included. I think Al Atkins probably was included. He was the village smithy, and Al did wrought iron. Wrought iron stairways, wrought iron fences, wrought iron, whatever, wrought iron. And that exhibit was attended by about 30 to 40,000 people.
Whoa.
Which I think is pretty good. So that really helped put a spotlight on what we were trying to do. And then they had the first Guild show out in the Poconos. And some of us said, out in the Poconos? Who's going to the Poconos for miniatures? So we had one of our members who was a publicist. He was not an artisan, but his wife was. And that was Fred Rogel. He did the publicity. And I will tell you that some of his, let's say, publicity was a little stretched.
Okay.
And in terms of what our occupations in real life were, I was billed, I guess my educational background is an early childhood teacher, was not quite glamorous enough. So I was billed as an ex-chorus girl.
That's a stretch.
Which was fun. I thought it was lots of fun. And some of the other people, when I read through the publicity release, I think, well, that's a bit of a stretch. And it was kind of fun, but it made us all look a little more interesting, maybe, to the general public. What can I tell you? If they spell your name right, it's good. All is good. And so even Bill Robertson was at that early first show. So while he was not a member, he was active in miniatures at that early age. I think he had a large grandfather's clock that was on a part of that show. Now, after that, we had regular board meetings just as they do now, but we all had to drive out to Pennsylvania to do this.
Right.
And some people flew in, like when Barbara and Carol finally got on, the California crew or the people from Louisiana or Mississippi had to fly up to go to the boondocks of Pennsylvania to attend a board meeting. But my job at that point in time was the education chair.
Oh, okay. Right.
And we were still meeting on the side at shows. And George and I would talk with Don and Nancy Butfield. And Don had a summer home up in Castine. And he dearly wanted everybody to come to Castine. So he invited George and I to come up. He says, why don't you guys come up and spend a weekend? So we went up and spent a weekend with Don, and we knew why he loved it. It is the most beautiful, it's the New England town that everybody imagines.
Yeah, the quintessential.
And yet it's magical.
It is.
And yet it has this wonderful school plopped right up on top of the hill.
So how long after you started the organization did the Guild School happen? Was it all in the same few years?
Everything's happened very quickly. We were very fortunate. We had people like Audrey who were collectors and who wanted to support us. And they came along and they were extremely helpful. When I heard Audrey say, I'm not an artisan, I'm a collector, I'm just a member. You are the most important part of this guild, is that the support of the general members and the collectors, it has been so invaluable to us over the years. What we did, I'll give you a little run by very quickly. In 1981, which was like a couple of years after we just got off the ground, we had an exhibit at the New Jersey State Museum in Trenton. We had a major exhibit at the Allentown Art Museum that ran for about a month. And along with that, we had demonstrations. So that if you went to see the exhibit, there were like a certain day that you could go and there would be a demonstration of an artisan doing his work. And then you could walk around and see everything that was there.
So Sally, clearly would you call this sort of the golden age of miniatures at this point? And where do you see miniatures today versus where you started? Do you see an explosion happening? What's your sense around miniatures today? Because clearly the Guild has started something big.
I think that from what I have heard and observed in the past, I think probably due to COVID, there has been a lot more attention in the press given to miniatures and miniature events in general. Miniatures are something that's been around since the ancient Egyptians, and probably before that. Yeah. It's a fascination that we have with things that are tiny. Yeah. Not to say we are all small-minded, but they're tiny things, right. And we love to look at them and play with them as adults.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think what you guys have done for the miniatures world is outstanding. So I want to thank you and all of the other charter members of the Guild for creating this organization that we love today and only can build upon as miniatures gain strength. To your point, I agree with you. This last year has raised awareness of miniatures. There are a lot more people in it, and I think there's no one better primed and positioned to bring more people in and have them understand what this world is about than the Guild. So big thank you to you and the rest of the charter members for bringing this organization to life. And thank you for all that you've done. So thank you guys. Actually, we're going to bring Audrey back on for any last remaining questions before we wrap up this awesome Guild. Anybody have any more questions about any of the topics that we've discussed? Education, the artisan credentialing process, the Guild School, all of the wonderful programs that the Guild brings to the miniatures world. So let us know if you have any final questions before we let these folks go. We will, as I said, I will have this posted onto YouTube, but any thoughts about the programs along the West Coast? That's a good question. Audrey, what do you think?
Well, we are looking at Tucson. It's not the West Coast, but it's closer to the West Coast than Hartford is, or Maysville. But we are looking for at Tucson, the Miniature Time Museum out there would very, very much like to host a GSP. We're looking for somebody that's willing to lead that program and be our spot person in that area to make sure that we've got all the arrangements in place. We're also open to other places. It's just a matter of which museum has projects that we can get instructors to be able to teach. Type of a thing.
It's on your radar to incorporate some folks who want to come in from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Marie wants to know if she can attend Colonial Williamsburg if she's not a member. I think so. I mean,
all of our programming is open for members and non-members. There is a slight upcharge for non-members. We're trying to give back to our members for that. Also, come to the Hartford show. Any member gets in free. Non-members pay a door price. I think for the entire weekend to come in, it's $25 at this point. So, you're going to get half of your membership price back right there if you're on the East Coast or you feel like you want to fly in for it. There are classes before the Guild show. The Friday night event is a meet and greet kind of a demonstration night. We have desserts out for everybody to have free of charge. And then we have various Artisan and Fellows demonstrating something that they do, whether it's making trim or using leather or how to do a picture frame in gold, all different kinds of things. There'll be about 11 or 12 different projects being worked on at that point. So the Hartford show is the fourth weekend in September. And, definitely it's probably going to be one of the first shows of the year. After COVID. So we have all kinds of classes. We have a tour of a museum and an artist studio. We have shopping with great tables and different things. One of the other things that they asked me to mention was the fact that Guild School, we recognize that it's a unique opportunity and not everybody can afford it. So that we do have scholarships available for Guild School. There is an application process that you go through and they look at your body of work and whether you are, whether you really need to have the financial help and that type of thing. And there are always scholarships available to people. But like I said, just go through the process and apply and apply more than once if that's what it takes.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Audrey. Thank you, everyone from the Guild who has joined us today to talk about this wonderful organization. Thank you guys at home for watching Meet the Miniaturists. Join me for next week, and we'll see you all. And thank you for joining, and have a great rest of your weekend, even though it's Sunday. All right. Bye, guys. Have a great night. Bye.